Hey, Phantomaniacs, welcome to the newest unboxing here on the Needless Things YouTube channel. Another large item today, and I'm working with another new setup because I'm always trying to do things the best way that I can. This is from Total Toy Books. You may have noticed there's been a lot of Action Force content lately here and on Audible Interlude, a G.I. Joe podcast, and that's because I had the opportunity to meet, well, not to meet, to meet online. Oh, I've got an interior case here. Hang on just a minute. Had the opportunity to speak with Brian Hickey from Total Toy Books about Action Force, which is, I probably would have said the UK version of G.I. Joe, but I think it's so much more than that. Really, it's the UK property that G.I. Joe was introduced into. I suppose I would call it the UK counterpart. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it now. But Brian was kind enough to send me some copies of the Battle Action Force Treasuries, which aren't going to come out of there easily. So let's do this. Oh my gosh, these are beautiful. I can't believe I'm here reviewing books lately on the channel. It's not really something I expected to do. As much as I've always been a fan of comic books, of regular novels, whatever, I just didn't think the channel would necessarily be an outlet for that in any way. But between the G.I. Joe Compendium and this, there's this excitement to this kind of sequential storytelling for me lately, and I want to share it and give other people the opportunity to see things like the Action Force comics. Now, if you want more background on the comics themselves, check out the interview with Brian Hickey that's available here on the Needless Things YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. It was available as an audio episode of the Needless Things podcast. Wow. These are nice and very manageable too. And we really get into the details of what Action Force is, what it meant to people in the UK. Look at that. Oh, beautiful. So if you need the background history, that's a good place to go. And then if you want the, I guess, American, not interpretation of, but response to Action Force, then check out, there's an episode of Audible Interlude available right now where now you can see the video version if you're a member of the channel. If you're a completist in the memberships, and I encourage you to check out our memberships. But just how we take it. Noel and Christian know a lot more about International G.I. Joe than I do. And I just, I love learning about stuff, taking things in, experiencing new things. So to be able to have this experience of learning about something new that is tied to something I love is very exciting. And it's not, it's not something you get, new setup, like I said. It's weighted a little funny. Okay. So anyway, this experience is exciting for me. I love the fact that there are familiar elements to Action Force, but it's this whole new world of stuff that I was unaware of. And it's been a lot of fun learning about it. The books feel great. Obviously, hardcover, really solid. It's interesting talking to Brian on his interview, which, like I said, is available here on the channel or in audio form, wherever you get your podcasts. It was interesting talking to him about the restoration, what went into it, what resources were available from these original comics, because, these were back in the 80s, and comics were very much still sort of a disposable thing. So the people making them weren't thinking, 40 years from now, people are going to want to read these. They were just read them, stick them in the birdcage. Like the gloss here on the character, the foil up at the top, just really nice and classy looking. And like I said, size-wise, very manageable. Some of the books I've been getting lately, while they're gorgeous editions, and I'm thrilled to have them, are so unwieldy that it takes like planning and extra effort just to break them out and read them. This is something that you can stick on the shelf, and it's a large size. It's about 10 3/4 by 13. So it's a large book, but it's a manageable thickness, weight, everything else. Like you can just pull this off the shelf, throw it on the table, and start reading. So as Brian discussed in our interview, these 3 volumes basically cover the rise of the Red Shadows, who are the villains of Action Force's universe. And you might recognize the Robo Skull over here. Be sure and check out my review of the Robo Skull Mark II from Skeletron, which, by the way, if you're interested in these, you can order all 3 volumes or 1 volume. Pick which one you want from Skeletron.com. And if you're outside of the U.S., TotalToyBooks.com is the place you want to go. So let's get back in here. No gloss on these pages. This is... okay, so I got to admit, I have been basically out of the world of comics for maybe a decade. It just got to the point where they were expensive. There were just too many. Like, you couldn't ever just read one book. Some other things always tied in, because they're always trying to, hook you on more stuff, because they have to. So like you couldn't just read an X-Men book. At some point, it was always going to tie into 4 other books. And those books ended up being pretty good. So you wanted to read those too. It was one of those things where it just was always this every couple of years. Well, no, every year. Every year I would strip down to like the bare minimum titles that I wanted to read. And by the end of the year, I'd always added like twice as many. So I just eventually just had to stop. Maybe it hasn't been 10 years. It was whenever Saga took their first break is when I just decided, like, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. Pages are nice and thick. It's one of those deals where it feels like they're 2 pages stuck together, but they're not. Good thick pages. But what I was going to say is no gloss. And I don't know if that's something the industry finally recognized is really annoying or what, but that was another thing that drove me crazy about comics back when I was still reading them is you have to find exactly the right light to sit under so you don't get glare on the pages. It was the dumbest thing in the world. I hated glossy pages in my comics, and now the G.I. Joe Compendium, no gloss. Battle Action Force Treasuries, no gloss. I love it. You can see the clarity of the printing here. Everything is crisp, clear, beautiful colors. Now, it is not color throughout because the original releases were not color throughout. Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this just gorgeous art. It's very interesting that in the 80s, this almost 60s looking style of art was still so prominent in the UK stuff. But the colors are sharp. All the lettering, like all the detail is very, very crisp. Looks great. These initial books, well, I say books. So each story is about 3 issues. Well, each issue is about 3 pages. Each story is about 11 issues. There's Quarrel, who you may recognize from a recent G.I. Joe Classified release. But you can see the kind of action adventure sci-fi stuff that's in here that, for whatever reason, I had always thought Action Force, even though I knew there were some wackier characters, I had thought it was a little more grittier, a little more of a war comic. And it is, but in a way, it's more fantastical than the G.I. Joe comics. Oh, look at this. Beautiful. I can't tell you how nice these pages are. Nice, thick paper stock. Feels really nice to flip through it. It's almost like a kid's storybook. And I mean that in the best way possible, because when you're a little kid, they're made to be a little more durable, right? And then as you get older, like, yes, you're a grown up and you should know how to handle stuff and take better care of stuff. But at the same time, it's kind of annoying because, like, things become more delicate and aren't as durable. And I like this feel. Will Iron Blood be destroyed? See next episode. Next episode. Isn't that interesting? So you'd have a couple of feature pages with color, and then it would move into black and white. Doesn't that look reminiscent of, was it the Night Attack Chopper, I think, from maybe 2002 or 4? I mean, they repainted it a bunch of times. They did a crimson one. They did I think I've got the green one that they did. But it was like Valor versus Venom era, right around there. This just reminds me of that. So they had, one of the challenges that Brian discusses in our interview was that there are a lot of issues that they don't have references for. So stories that are just going to be missing, like, and I believe future volumes are really the concern there. I believe these are complete, but similar to Doctor Who, another UK property, where they're just missing stories because at the time everything was very disposable. So you can see you've got color interspersed throughout, but oh my gosh, look at this great shark. Because of course somebody got dropped into a pool with a shark. And then the shark explodes. And that's another thing about these books, is they are much more, I mentioned grittier. They are grittier and more violent than the Joe comics were. And the Joe comics, are often thought of as very, oh, look at that. Is that Red Jackal? Who has a very different story. So this is when, look, there's a hiss, which is called something else. So the Joe characters are starting to be introduced here at the end of the first volume, but they're nothing like the Joe characters that we know in America. They gave them completely different stories, and it's so interesting to see what those looks, what the Palatoys people did with those. So you get your typical stuff in the background, just info, splash pages, things like that. And that is the first volume. Volume 2. Again, very manageable. I'm at, because of this camera setup I've got going on here, which is not bad, by the way. It's okay. But it's a little awkward for me to reach. I've got this ring light on a stand, which I really like how everything looks with this. it's a little awkward to kind of get around it. But again, these are manageable. You can move them around. So volume 2, you can see, you've got, oh, look at that coral with the, oh gosh, what is it called? It's a Z-Force attack cycle. I can't remember. Like I said, Noel and Christian would be telling you exactly what everything in here was. I am very much in the infant learning stage of Action Force. Look at that old school 80s looking computer print, digital print, whatever. Was this crazy creature? Is that one of the Krakens? Yes, the Kraken was waiting. Here we go, codename Kraken. So this is the story of how the Red Shadows found, and if you Google Action Force Kraken, you'll see what the figure looks like. But they found this thing in the ice and then cloned it to make an army of amphibious, mindless soldiers. And it's awesome. So you can see just gorgeous artwork all the way through. The stories, I have not read everything yet. We got PDFs as well, which is how we were able to, I had sort of a basis to interview Brian, and then we were able to do the Action Force oriented episode of Audible Interlude. But I just got the Treasury editions yesterday. So you can see the quality is just excellent on these. Oh, look at these covers. These just lurid, like pulpy covers are incredible. Sea Lion Q4 submarine. So they've got, here it is. The Z-Force Rapid Fire Raider, which we know is the Ram. They seldom see beaver come, and they never see him go. I'm just going to present that without comment. Surfer and Sea Skimmer. And going through this, I want toys of all of this. And I don't know how, the vintage ones, sure, if I found them for the right price at a toy show or whatever, I'd pick up a couple of things. But I'd really love for, Hasbro or Super 7 or whoever to do O-ring, reissues of this stuff. I'd love to have all of these things. So there you go. You get the idea of just how exciting and fun all of this is. And finally, we'll just go through Volume 3. Gaucho right there on the front, who we know as Gung Ho, but he is a very different version of that figure. So, like I said, if you want to grab one volume just to check it out, you can. Brian recommended Volume 2 as the one where things really start to come together story-wise and overarching narrative-wise. Skeletron.com in the U.S., you can buy all 3 volumes at once or just one volume at a time, or TotalToyBooks.com for international. You can get your copies, but this is just exciting, fun stuff. And if you're already a fan of G.I. Joe and wish there was more G.I. Joe, it will wet your whistle with a very different flavor. Look at the flak right there. And that's another fun part of reading this, is everything isn't G.I. Joe. It's Action Force is its own thing that had G.I. Joe introduced into it. So you'll get to know these characters, these scenarios, certainly the Red Shadows, and then, every once in a while you see, oh, look, it's the Flak, or the Pack Rats, or whatever the case may be. So there's tons of original stuff, but then Joe, there's Gaucho. But then Joe stuff bleeds in there as well. Mamba Men. Look at this. Jungle Terror. Oh, man. Oh, there's the Z-Force APC, which is all green over there and looks beautiful. Go to bloodforthebaron.com and just poke around and look at some of the stuff on there to really get a taste for what the toys looked like. So there you go. I hope this has given you enough of a look at what Action Force is, and certainly at the quality of these treasuries. They're gorgeously done. Again, the people who are bringing these things back, or who are preserving these stories, are just doing amazing work. And I can't even imagine. Well, I can't imagine the passion that goes into this sort of thing, because it's what I do. With the channel, with the podcasts, with the live performances I do, I get it. But having a product like this at the end of it is just something else entirely. And the amount of meticulous effort that would go into producing something like this, I have so much respect for. So Battle Action Force Treasuries, Skeletron.com, TotalToyBooks.com. Check out my interview with Brian Hickey. Check out the Action Force episode of Audible Interlude. And we will certainly be talking about Action Force more in the future. But there you go. Absolutely gorgeous sets. Thank you so much to Brian and Total Toy Books for sending these my way. I really, really appreciate it. It's again, I'm on this great learning journey now. And as we get older, we don't run into things like this as much as we used to. When you're young, everything is new, everything is a discovery. And as you get older, I think there's a tendency to stick with the things you're comfortable with. So it's very exciting to have something that has elements of something I'm comfortable with, but is also completely fresh and new and exciting. So anyway, check out Action Force. At the very least, like I said, go to bloodforthebaron.com and poke around there and take a look at, they've got looks at the comics, the toys, everything about it. I think if you're a Joe fan, once you dip your toe into Action Force, you're going to get addicted and you're going to enjoy it. So thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, check out those membership levels for exclusive stuff. And until next time, buy what you like.
Hey, Phantomaniacs, I want to tell you about memberships for the Needless Things channel. We have 3 different levels. Each one has different special perks that will only be available to members. We've got things like special emojis that I made myself, badges, polls that you're going to be able to participate in to determine what we do here on the channel, early access to videos, exclusive live chats, exclusive live streams, lots of engagement, because that's really what I want. I really enjoy the comments here on the channel, even the negative ones. I like getting into that kind of stuff, and I want people to feel like they're more a part of what's going on here. And obviously, I want support for the channel. This stuff, as much as I love doing it and providing it for free, it isn't free for me. So every little bit that we can get helps out. And even if you don't join as a member, thank you for your support, whether liking, subscribing, sharing, whatever it is you do. It's all important. But those memberships, the members are going to get lots of cool stuff exclusive only to them.
Smash that like button if you like Needless Things.